gentlemen, super pumped to be here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is Honest to God, a production of The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. Everybody here's a pro today. It's going to be a super great show. We're rocking and rolling.
I can't wait. I've been, I've been anxious about this show all week because community is one of my favorite topics. I just brought it up and it usurped your position.
Yeah, I think it's really neat that Chevy Chase did that kind of comeback thing with sorry, I stole somebody's joke. Whose joke was that before? That was yours, wasn't it? It was. Yeah,
it was.
The community we're talking about the show. We're not talking about the show.
Yeah,
We're talking about actual community. We've done a lot of episodes on this.
Donald
I think the subheading, what? Solitude, Attitude, Fortitude?
That's right. That's correct.
It's going to be great.
Nice.
We got all pros here. We got Luke. We got Mary. We got Drew. We got Veronica. We got Allison. It's a party. Producer Julian, always here, tickling keys.
Tickling keys.
Yeah.
Although there was a few episodes that I
Thanks,
did
Mary.
miss because I was on a retreat, which I'm glad to be back.
Oh,
Great
yeah.
to be back in studio. Yeah.
We had a fill-in producer, but we never have a fill-in producer, Benny, who's always here to my right, never on camera, handling everything.
Hey, Benny.
You're doing great, Benny. Yeah, so let's rock and roll. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's start, as we do all things, in prayer. We prayed before, which I liked. This is going to be an extra good show.
Yes, it will be. Guaranteed.
Drew, you game? You going
Take us
to
away.
lead us?
All right, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we come before you to spread the word, spread the good news, to do your will, to talk about you, to talk about your way of manifesting in our lives through each other, through community, and through the people we love. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So,
That's the Holy Spirit, amen. 90.
90 is as good as an A. Is it like an
No,
91?
it was good. You got like
A
brevity
plus.
points. I appreciate, not appreciate. I'm not trying to be that cool. Yeah,
It's not
brevity
fair.
points. But it was good. It was good. Yeah, mostly guys usually don't break 100,
Really?
right? Well, girls get a 5-point bump because I just feel weird giving them bad grades, which is, I guess, is like kind of like infantilizing. I apologize, like for that, but
But they work
that's how it
harder
is.
for their points, though. That's what I would say.
You think?
They actually study. Like, guys don't. Do you guys study?
Like,
Yeah,
prayer
I've read the
study?
study.
I guess.
I've studied before.
Oh,
yeah.
proud of you.
Yeah.
That's good.
We were talking off air a second ago about how like affirming Mary's laughter is and how great that was. And it made me think, after I said it, I was thinking about I led a youth group for like the better part of a decade. And we had this one lock-in, and there was a guy there who was pretty new. And then there was a girl there who was like, went to everything, did all the stuff, was super into it. And the guy was like kind of pushing the line of the things that you're allowed to say or jokes you're allowed to make at a lock-in. Like nothing egregious, but like, you know. And she kept laughing, and I was like, it came to a point where I was like, hey, dude, you got to like tone that down. You can't do that. And he goes, come on. She thinks I'm funny. And she looked at him and she said, I laugh when I'm uncomfortable. And it was like the perfect, like, shut him down. So don't say that and stop nodding because now I feel bad. All right, give us one fun fact apiece and then we'll get into all things community.
Fun fact. I have lived in Ireland for a year. As a missionary.
No way. Like
Pretty
net?
fun fact.
Net missionaries.
I know a lot of people who did net. Yeah, that's really cool. My buddy met his wife in Ireland doing net
really?
ministries. Yeah, she wasn't Irish. She was just regular. But,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
yeah.
What was his name? I might have known him.
Matt.
Matt?
Yeah.
Wait,
One
actually, I
Matt
think I do
in
know him.
Ireland.
You know,
Thanks.
it's like, yeah. Well, I'll tell you last names off the air in a little
Okay,
bit.
gotcha.
Yeah. All right, Mary, what you got?
Favorite color?
No, do a better one.
Yeah, I like taupe. That's my favorite color.
Taupe. That's a hot take.
Yeah.
I think vanilla is one of my favorite flavors, and I don't like how everybody throws. See, like you just did that. I don't think like everybody gives vanilla all this crap.
What does vanilla even look like, color-wise?
No, not look. Taste. Taste is my favorite flavor. Did I say color?
I
I'm
thought it
gonna
was
say
your favorite color.
No.
Like your shirt, like a tinged yellowish,
Oh.
milky.
I thought it was white.
Off-
Not a feeling. It once was.
Well,
off-white.
But I like vanilla. It's good. It's a rich flavor. I don't like how we pretend like it's the basic flavor. It's
Especially in
not.
ice cream. It's the best. Way
Yeah.
better than chocolate.
It's
Not
so
even close.
good. Vanilla bean extract. Like, come on.
Sometimes
it's
just open the
delicious.
bottle.
I was
and-
gonna ask that too.
Yeah, well, that's what vanilla tastes like.
It's good.
What you got, Drew?
My middle name's Michael.
That's so good. So far, these are terrible.
That's so
Yours
Drew
is the
to
only
say.
one remotely interesting.
Your fun fact
Where-
actually that your favorite color is taupe.
Well, I just thought it would take too long to explain.
Oh no, you needed to
Is there a
explain your fun
backstory to
fact.
this?
No, it's, you need prompts for more specific fun facts sometimes.
Hey Mary.
Why
Why?
is your favorite color taupe?
Why?
Is that the prompt you were looking for?
Nope.
Oh. You
What's
guys
an
want a prompt?
interesting story since we're talking about community?
Well, why don't you put it in your fun fact?
Oh my
Because
god.
it's your fun fact.
Tell us the most interesting person who's ever fallen in love with you.
I don't have a
Become the
good story
viewers.
for that. Do you?
No.
She does.
It's a
does.
whole
I want to
episode.
have a whole episode that's just who's the most interesting person who's ever fallen in love with you now.
It's
Sounds
definitely
fantastic.
not me.
Yeah.
No,
I
come
was just
on.
afraid they would listen to this and be like, I was never in love with you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, they were. They were. Positive. Veronica, what you got?
In the spirit of community, I was thinking, what is the most interesting way I've ever made a friend?
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually the first thing that came to mind. It was about a year ago. Allison, myself, and a good friend of ours were driving in downtown Los Angeles, and sometimes you make a wrong turn, and if you're there, you end up on Skid Row.
You're
Oh,
putting
Sure.
us on
boy.
air.
I
You
am.
didn't-
Sorry, Mom.
Shout out to my homies in Skid Row.
End of story.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, just,
Shut up.
I can't. So we were kind of in not the best area. We weren't directly on Skid Row, but we were like, parallel. There was fire in the street,
Yeah.
actually.
Sure. Okay.
So, anyways, we were in an intersection and a fender bender occurred,
Oh
and the
no.
person that we got into this is your fun. Well,
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
it was. I gave it to you because you were driving. But
This is great.
but
Wait, was the fender bender your fault?
so we met this person.
Okay.
All right. She says, I plead the fifth. So it was a minor, though. Everybody, walked away. No scratches. Nobody was hurt. The whole thing. But when we got out of the car and the gentleman got out of the car, we were like around the same age, and we were like, we don't know how this is gonna go. And then I saw a saxophone in the back seat. I was like, do you play the saxophone? He was like, yeah, actually, I'm like headed to a show tomorrow. It turns out we were in the same music group, knew the same like musicians, like out of all the people and places in downtown Los Angeles. He was like, I'm playing a show this Tuesday. I'm like, we're going to that show.
That's the best way a fender bender on Skid Row can
We
end.
hit it
That's
off.
amazing.
Go to a saxophone show.
Was it Bill Clinton? He can, play the he can tear the saxophone up. Yes.
It's
Actually,
that's my
we're
fun
sponsoring
fact.
This episode, actually.
This episode is not sponsored by Bill
Not the
Clinton.
Clinton Foundation.
Oh my gosh. No, but we remained friends. We ended up going to his parties. We met more friends through his community. Like,
So
he ended
rad.
up being one of our, shout out to Spencer, a great human being.
Way to
and
go, Spencer. Keep playing that saxophone.
Honestly,
We'll
we're
try
like,
to get him on sometime soon.
Yeah.
That'd be great. We'll fly him in. Yeah.
hey,
Big
as long
budget.
as you get Goldblum, I'm there.
It's coming. It's coming. Actually, one of our next episodes of Honest God is going to be filmed live on Skid Row
oh my,
in
that's
Los
so
Angeles
amazing.
on that street.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm hyped for this.
There will be a fire in directly
Behind you.
outside the studio.
Bill
Yeah.
Clinton as his guest star.
Yeah. Maybe if we can get him down there.
That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
All right, that didn't count for yours though, Allison. What you got?
No, thank God. So actually, this will count for both of us as well. But technically, we're third-class relics of Pope John Paul the 16th. Oh my
loves
gosh,
this
Pope
one.
Benedict. Yes.
It would be way cooler for you to explain why it was John Paul the 16th.
You've never heard of him?
I watched a cool
Alternate
time
reality.
You must
travel
not be a
movie
good
lately.
Catholic.
I'm super into it. That's cool. So, can you tell that story?
Yeah, it was New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, so it occurred 2 different days. Yeah, this was back in 07, 06 and 07.
It was a good year.
Yeah, it was. And we were in the crowd, and all these nuns were like screaming. They were like, "Papa, Papa!" And we were very, very short, late bloomers. And he came over and he grabbed our hands and put them in his, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful!" And then the nuns just kind of like tackled us. They were
Like,
like,
nuns shoved you out of the way.
Yeah,
To
uh-huh.
get to the Pope.
Never wash your hands.
That's cool. That's a
Yeah.
cool story. I've seen one Pope in person. I saw Pope Benedict XVI in person. I've never
Not
never
John
touched
Paul
the
the
Pope.
16th.
No, not John Paul the 16th. No.
Yeah.
One day I hope to.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. You got anything? You got any fun facts,
Oh
Julie?
yeah, I do. In fact, I'm going to bring up another giraffe fact because
I literally was going to say it's not another giraffe fact.
it is
Okay.
because our dear listeners have commented and have said that they love the giraffe facts and that they do not appreciate your hate of giraffes.
Yeah, I don't like giraffes.
You don't. You
I take a
don't,
strong
and
anti-giraffe position. I'll die on that hill.
It turns out that children giraffes can run faster than their adult counterparts.
It's interesting.
That is interesting. I guess that makes sense. Like, but their legs are real small though.
I know it's very weird that the children can run faster
Yeah,
than their
never
parents.
mind. That's
And
not
it
interesting.
is in short distances. So I think on the long kind of a marathon run that the adults actually can run farther.
I'm doubling down. That's disordered and another sign that giraffes. Yeah.
Disorder.
Can you imagine if your toddler could outrun you? Wouldn't that be weird?
It
Oh
would
my
be
God.
really
That'd be
weird.
Yeah.
Julian, I didn't know you were a draft master. I have a question.
Oh.
Do they wear their neckties up here
Oh, it is.
or at the base?
Oh,
Of their neck.
So it depends on where they're actually born. So if they're born here in America, like in a zoo, then they'll wear them more at the base. But if they're born overseas, then that will be more at the
Beneath the
top of
chin.
their chest.
Yeah.
I just don't think they deserve the hype. That's my only take on giraffes. They're fine. They're like I like giraffes as much as I like
You're more of a hippo
like
guy.
antelopes. Yeah, like what? Yeah, but why is the giraffe better than a hippo? Everybody they like them more. They just have a long, stupid neck, and I don't think that counts. I don't think that's good
do
enough.
agree, actually.
Thank
They're
you.
kinda weird.
So are we picking up about me talking about how much giraffes suck, or you guys? Are
Yeah, we could. That was just the weirdest thing ever. How your camera just like cut out, so we had to pause for just a brief moment to
big.
fix some technical difficulties. You know.
Big giraffe
Yeah.
messing around
Messing-
back there. Yeah, they've been
But-
trying to silence me for years.
Yeah, our listeners are just so sick of the hate that you give towards giraffes and the exclusive love for marsupials when we don't understand it. And all animals deserve love.
There's like
Yes.
but that's okay. Real quick, and then we'll get back to what we're actually talking about. I agree, but I think there's certain animals that just get too much hype, and I think it makes them arrogant as a species, and so I don't like them. Right? Giraffes,
Arrogant
polar
as a
bears,
species.
pandas, like those are the big
Polar
three
bears?
that I'm against.
And John Henry.
And me think I get that's fair. That is fair. All the hype I get here on AM radio, honest to God, the Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. All right, community. That's a thing that we talk about a lot, but apparently we got some interesting. We're gonna dig into that in a neat way. And I was told, Luke, you were the question master today.
Yes. So for the past few years, I've been full-time at school and full-time work. So I've been going to a trade school, the Aviation Institute of Maintenance, and it's 4 days a week, and it is 7:30 to 2:30, like Monday through Thursday.
Mhm.
And I also work 40 to 42 hours a week full-time. And I really find myself all the time just not having any time for socializing or like going to young adult things like adoration or even praise and worship or even just going out to have a drink with a few friends.
Right.
Like I have not had any time whatsoever to go and make friends, and all the friends that I had have either moved away or just moved on with their lives. And you know, community within like school and work is fine and everything, except for when like they don't really share the same background as you, especially like if they're not Catholic, but a few of them are practicing Christian.
Sure.
And I've hung out with a few of them before, but the topic of religion always comes up. I don't know how, but it always does. And
Good. That
sometimes
means you're having real conversations, though.
Yeah,
which
that
is
is
like
true.
really awesome.
yeah, and I always talk about, I always defend my faith the best way I can. I was born and raised Catholic, and I graduated from a Catholic high school. And it always they eventually get aggressive on their own side,
Oh wow. Okay.
and I really hate confrontation. And so I always end up becoming silent, and then that friendship kind of takes a back seat.
This is a really sad story, Luke. I thought
Yeah.
there was going to be a question, and now I'm just kind of
But
upset.
anyways, yeah, I'm just getting to the question. But anyways, the question I was having is like when you're so busy, like I am, like I finally got some free time recently, but like how would you go about finding these communities and these groups that go out and do stuff?
That's a good question.
Cool. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not the end all be all. I want to open up to you guys. What are your thoughts?
Well, now that I know this about you, Luke, we're definitely inviting you over to our like dinner parties and get-togethers because this is something that we love to do is host monthly dinners, and that's just like, I don't know, maybe we love meeting people. It could be we meet them at a coffee shop is a great way to meet new people, or just like, I think following your passions too, and it's easy, I guess, for us because speaking for the both of us here, we love dance, so it's easy to seek out like dance classes and make friends that way. But even things like, I really want to try jujitsu.
That's so
Yes.
cool.
That
So
is
if
cool.
anybody knows like cool jujitsu groups, drop it in the comment below. I want to know. But like, I don't know. I understand what you're saying. Like you want them to kind of share your values. That totally makes sense. But I would even say like they don't necessarily have to be Catholic. You can totally just bring them in, and your example alone is going to be very powerful. You know, I think Pope Benedict the 16th actually said, evangelization is teaching people the art of living. So even just like you being Catholic, and not necessarily shying away from that but being an example will, I think, inspire people to just like look a little further, look a little deeper. Like, what is this? Why does he seem so, content in a way? But yeah, I think seeking out different things that you're interested in, biking, walking, there's definitely community out there. It's an epidemic with our generation, loneliness for real, social media, but the groups do exist out there. And we were kind of talking about this earlier. I think it's Catholic Dinner Group, right? They host events weekly where you can take dance classes or go have drinks with your friends.
Is that local in Atlanta?
Yeah,
We'll put that in the show notes.
Well,
City on Purpose is a really
I
good one
personally
too.
like
that does
dinner, so that's a good thing.
Hey,
Dinner's
we've got a
great.
place for you. And were you going to talk about City on Purpose? I didn't know as much about that.
Oh no, we've just had him on the show before. We can drop that in the show notes as well. But City on Purpose is great, and it's been a recurring theme on the show because I think it is like, not to sound like dismissive about it, but I do feel like my generation, I'm probably 10 years older than a lot of you guys. I caught the last chopper out of Nam in regards to like the normal
dramatic.
friendship dynamic and how you meet romantic partners kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like I was right there when the iPhone first came out and all the social media stuff became a big thing. And that was like all starting to ramp up around the time I was like, I'm going to marry that girl and we're going to live together and have a bunch of babies for the rest of our lives. And it's going to be great. And so, but now I see people even just 5, 6, 7 years younger than me, my family members and stuff, who are having all this trouble connecting with people. And I'll be the first to say, I've made one real friendship since I left college. All of our social groups are people that we have known forever.
One of those people in this room today.
It is Luke, and so it really hurts me that he said that he doesn't. Yeah. No, Julia and I didn't know each other that well in college. Actually, we sort of rekindled a friendship years later, and we ran in kind of pseudo aligning circles, but we weren't close very much at all in college. So we're buddies now.
Yeah, we are.
I'm a fan.
And to add, honest to God is a community, and that's kind of how we've reconnected. So everybody here is part of a community as well. So if you want to be part of the community, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be on the show or even part of the show, email us at youngadults@thequestatlanta.com.
Comment down below your favorite giraffe fact.
And I'll tell you why it
Bring
makes
them
them
in,
worse.
people.
Yeah, actually, I do. I promise. If people comment favorite giraffe facts in the comment section, I will get on from my personal YouTube account and tell them why that makes giraffes worse. I'm totally fine with doing that. Yeah, I'm that passionate. But I do want to get on into something else you just said and then hear other people's thoughts. I think I give this advice a lot for finding a spouse, but I think it works just as well with like non-romantic friendships, right? Do the kinds of things you want the people that you're going to hang out with to be doing, right? Like if you're really into listening to bluegrass music, I like bluegrass music. Go listen to people play bluegrass music. That's cool. And hang out and be kind of awkward and don't look at your phone and just talk to people, right? And that's easier. I get how temperaments play into all that. I really do. I've always been sort of more just outgoing and gregarious, and I hate silence, and that's why I do this, right?
My fellow sanguine.
Yeah, it's fun and easy for me, but going and doing the things that you want the people you want to be friends with to do, right? I think that's awesome. Do y'all have thoughts, Drew or Mary?
No, that was great what you said about doing things that the people you want to be around do as well. I think it's really interesting that you can do anything really, and there's a community there. It doesn't matter if it's like, I mean, the Olympics are a great example of that. Every single sport has this massive community that builds on so many levels. If you are interested in anything, there's a community for that, and it's worth pursuing. And no matter where you are, you're not going to be around people that always are going to share the same values as you. So obviously, it's your personal boundaries, what you're comfortable with, and how it's functional too. But I guess you got to figure out how to cooperate with more secular people. It's just part of life.
Yeah, I think the pressure to find like sort of perfect Catholic community right out of the gate is that's sort of misdirected. Because it's good. I mean, obviously, preferably, if all of your friends are super in line with your morals and your values and you share the faith, that's great, right? That is really good. Realistically, based on the circumstances that most people have in their life, it's not going to be something that is available to you. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I will say we found a lot of friends when we became core members at our church, which I know you're super busy, so I don't know if this is something you could take on. But when we became core members at St. Michael's Life Teen Shout Out, there was a bunch of people like our age and a little bit younger that very much shared our values, and it was very easy to create a community that way as well. So just like getting involved in the church is probably another easy way to find people with your morals.
And it takes a lot of pressure off of the whole socializing and trying to meet people. It's like, well, you're serving and you're growing in your faith and you're learning more about yourself and learning to like yourself, because I think that's a huge part of why people don't socialize a lot anymore. Is like we have this really bad self-esteem epidemic. We have like depression and anxiety and social media. But if you just like volunteer and help make a difference in people's lives and figure out who you are, then it becomes easier to hang out with religious people who might not have anything in common with you. Because that was the reason why I'm a melancholic by nature. Like I'm very antisocial by nature. So it's been like a real effort to get me out and talking to people. And one of the big barriers to that was I hate small talk and I get like super self-conscious. But the cool thing about going into faith-based stuff is that you always have something really deep to talk about with anybody. So I could have a really deep conversation with Drew and know nothing about him, and we're talking about like, how do you contemplate your death, or like, you know, stuff like that.
It's a good opener, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm being serious.
No, that's what I love about being Catholic, is you can be like, you know, what's like talk about cosmic things, and people used to do that all the time 1,000 years ago because death could happen at any moment. But now we kind of live in this very materialist, you know, this is it. So why would you want to talk about death? So you just are left with talking about like, oh, you know, my yard, or like stupid things, and it's
elections.
or like politics and things like that. So it's like that's volunteering and stuff like that. I think is a good gateway.
I think on that too, just the importance of meeting people through service and volunteering. You're working and flexing the muscle of service, which is friendship fundamentally. It's you are serving the other, and it's a mutual exchange of that. So if you both meet each other through a mutual volunteer situation, you both are learning how to serve, and then that's just the building blocks for a really healthy friendship. I think too, it matters how you present yourself. So I love Mother Teresa's quote, begin everything with a smile, for that is the beginning of love. So when you're in public, in a grocery store, at a coffee shop, in the street, like if you just smile at the person that you're walking by, like that immediately is an invitation that's like friendly versus like the,
Well, and can I say too, you're allowed to fake it. Like,
Yeah,
even if
fake
you're
it
not
till
in
you
a good
make it.
mood, that's fine. That's fine. I spent all day today at work prepping for the beginning of the school year at the school where I work, and I was exhausted by the end of the day, and it was a whole lot of parents and kids and families and whatever, and I was not in a smiley mood, and I did it anyway because that helps, right? Unlike here, where I'm always authentically in a good mood. And honest to God, a production of The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic radio.
would you like to get some things off your chest?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
It's a safe space.
It's fine.
Squeezing a tear out.
We only have a few minutes left before we go to break, but one thing I really want to dig into on the second half is the difference between primarily male and primarily female communities, because I do think there's some major distinctions. I mean, even into how males form friendships versus how females form friendships, that I think would be interesting to kind of dig around here in a little bit. But before we do, I don't know, any more thoughts? I think when you were talking about service and volunteering and all of that stuff, I think a really beautiful thing about that is that it creates a natural sort of filter where the people who are going to be doing that are, you already know a base level of we've got X, Y, and Z in common, right? You're the kind of person who's going to be volunteering to help out with the core team or whatever at the church, right? Or the person who's going to go to the mission trip with Mustard Seed in Jamaica, or the person who's going to the City on Purpose, or the, what was it, Catholic dinner group or something. I think that's really cool because it narrows it down as opposed to trying to meet people in the wild, right? Like out in a bar or somewhere, right? Where you know there's no baseline assumptions that you can make about the person. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's a great point, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I actually did the serving thing. Like I became team corps member for my church shortly after I got home from my mission trip in Ireland. And I did that for about a year and a half. I quit after the after winter of, I believe it was 23. Because it felt like another job. It felt like a Sunday job because the community, like the core team community, wasn't exactly there. And also a few awkward situations happened. Like I said, I don't like confrontation. So I tried that, didn't necessarily work out. So I went down the road to the next church where I started being a part of a young adults Bible study group. And we would meet every Wednesday and every Sunday. And I met a girl there and we got along pretty well. We started dating and then we ended things off. And I got kicked out of the Bible study the next day.
Wow.
Wait, did you got kicked out of
I
it?
got kicked out for breaking up with her because her best friend was one of the heads of the Bible study group.
That's so
How do you
childish.
kick
Oh
somebody
my
out
gosh.
of a Bible
These are like
study?
your people, right?
I woke up the next day and I got a group me notification saying you have
the-
been removed from this Bible study group. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's so petty. Oh my gosh.
Was it like a really bad breakup?
So she had done something that was just not okay. She made a comment
We're
about
going to get
me.
specific, super specific.
He was like, I did TP her house.
She made a comment
Pop her
about my
tires in the car.
brothers that was uncalled for in front of them, and I was like, okay, so that's
Oh, wow.
really not okay. And she didn't exactly seem too apologetic about it. So I was like, okay, this is not gonna work out.
Sounds like
So
you're better off.
a couple days afterwards, I broke up with her. It was messy on her side. I was like, I kind of have
Hey,
to do
but
this.
a good thing out of that is who isn't the person for you.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
One less girl.
One less.
Only 4
$3.5 billion to go.
girls. So, I mean, that's another 50% we just took out. You okay, Mary?
Technical difficulties.
Julie, do you have any closing thoughts?
Sure, yeah, we got about 90 seconds. So I know Mary was bringing up about volunteering at your church, and there's a possibility that your church may not have anything to offer that you're interested in. So here's your opportunity to go to your church and say, hey, pastor or father, I am interested in underwater basket weaving, and I would love to start a club about underwater basket weaving so that we can come together and discuss underwater basket weaving and have wine or whatever it is that you do with your friends.
So you don't want to be not drinking wine while weaving those baskets.
That's right.
You go underwater with
Yes.
the basket. I think you just do the weaving underwater.
Is this a thing or is this
Oh,
like
no,
a
it's a
joke?
thing.
Oh, no, it's,
Okay.
it's 100%
Yeah,
a
you
thing.
take reeds and you put them underwater so they're more flexible. They soak, and then you make the basket underwater. You're above water though. You don't have to get in the water with
I
it.
always
is
imagine
niche.
yourself underwater though. I can't help it. It's
No,
like 6
it's a
foot
real
and you're down
thing.
there with the scuba mask on. It just
You guys don't basket weave? Come on.
I mean, I know how to, but every time you see underwater
Obviously.
basket weaving, it's like the defining part is underwater.
Is
So
there
you're like,
competitive
oh,
underwater
it's
basket
really
weaving in
underwater.
Southern
You know,
waters?
like
That's what I want to know.
that's what I'm
Dig it.
saying.
That's
You
a good
know,
idea.
like they got the scuba back too. And
I don't think that's it. I did really enjoy. Sorry, we're just going off a rabbit hole here. Did y'all watch the speed walking competition in the Olympics?
No, but was it
No.
good?
Everybody listening, everybody watching, do yourself a favor. Go on YouTube and watch the speed walking competition. It's the best thing ever.
That's so
Next, though, we're going to move away after the break from speed walking and basket weaving. And we're going to get into male versus female communities and dig into some more of this. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back. This is Honest to God, a production of the Quest Atlantis Catholic Radio. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is Honest to God, a production of the Quest Atlantis Catholic Radio. We are rocking and rolling here. Mary's still laughing. I don't know whether to be like encouraged or offended. We got Luke, we got Mary, we got Drew and Veronica, Allison, producer Julian. Handling business over there, man.
No, I'm trying to.
You're doing
yeah.
great. You make it look easy.
We've
You
got
do.
some new features that I'm trying to learn here, but we're doing it, and I'm trying my best.
Nice. Speaking of new features,
Yeah.
today this episode is on community, and we're answering some of Luke's questions and some new. That's a bad analogy. Trying to figure out a way to say like new ways. You know what? I graduated from the Harvard School of Segways, but every now and then you miss your mark. Trying to bring us back, but here we are. So one thing I talked about before the break is the difference between male and female communities, because I do think there's a big distinction.
Yeah.
And I was on a show a couple months ago, and I got a lot of flack for this because I was talking about the difference between my wife and her relationships with her friends and my relationship with my guy friends, right? And particularly, I was saying how I got a good buddy of mine. His name's John. He lives in Texas. I talk to John maybe once every 2 years. I don't know the name of John's kids. We text maybe twice a year. I'll get a text, maybe, right? He's one of my best friends. I love this guy to death. I'll see him every now and then, once every couple of years, and
That's so
it's like
funny.
we never missed a step. We just pick up, we're laughing, we're talking. It's just back to old times. Great guy, super instrumental in my conversion, all this stuff, right? My wife has friends who, like, if she doesn't, like, text him every now and then, like once a week or so, it's like, hey, did I do something? And it's interesting. I think that dynamic is something that actually has to come into play in a lot of this stuff when you're talking about community building and all of those things. I have buddies that I've had for 5 years, and I don't have their numbers saved in my phone. And I have to scroll back to the top and be like, oh, yeah, I love that guy. I think go back down, and then we'll go out to eat or whatever. But I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on the distinction between, I won't say male and female communities, but I'll say predominantly male versus predominantly female communities, and how, if at all, guys and girls can form strong, non-romantic relationships? I have a hot take on that I'll share later. Thoughts?
Well, I'm excited for John Henry Span hot take. That sounds pretty cool. But there's a lot of difference in male and female community. It's hard to really narrow down like the specific distinctions, but like overall in the broad strokes, I think you mentioned a really big one, which is like the frequency of contact. You know, for me personally too, I feel kind of it's like once every 6 months you'll like send a message to someone, and I guess you can call it a relationship, but it seems more like it's a different thing. There's like community where you're embedded in it, and then the people that you connected with at the time, you can kind of reach out to once and again. I guess that's how I feel in my male version of community and social spaces. I guess I'm interested in hearing like one of your guys's personal, like, and if you feel like that differs from like,
Tell
the
us
male
girl
experience.
community secrets.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How does that whole
This is
dynamic
gossip
work?
time.
Girl community secrets.
That's good. There's going to be a short on just girl community secrets.
It would go against girl code. The way they differ, I mean, I have a lot of girlfriends who, some of them are like that, where we only talk a few times a year, but the bond is so strong, and then others where it's like a more consistent communication. I think it's just kind of the quality of the person, depending on if they get offended by that or if they need that reassurance, on a consistent basis. But how it differs from men, I guess, women, we have such an easy time talking.
Right.
So it's like we can get to the bottom of like any and every topic in one hangout, because we have the spider talk where everything is connected, and at the end it all comes back together to the very first topic.
I'll have conversations with my guy friends, and it'll be like a 5-hour, get some drinks, go hang out at a cabin, and just hang out that night, right? And spend the night there. I just did this a couple weeks ago for my buddy's birthday, right? We had a cabin up in Dahlonega. It was great. We just had a river house and beer and like chicken wings and little pre-made pub subs and stuff. And it was the best weekend. It was the best. And we sat around and we talked 99% of the time about just like, hey, remember that time in college when we did that, we took apart the golf cart and then reassembled it in the girls' dorm, or like that, just dumb stories like that. And then 1% of like really beautiful, intimate, like, hey, actually, I have a question about that. And then we would get into some thing, and then at the end of that, it'd be like, yeah, didn't you remember that one time we did that? And it was really cool. I don't know. I feel there's like there's, I guess the depth is more brief, right? Because my wife will sit down with her sister. They talk all the time. And the conversation will be a very long conversation. I did this today, and then this is happening with the baby, and then this is going on, and whatever. I think there's something really beautiful. I'm not like attacking that. I'm not saying that's lame. Right? But I just think it's different, and I'm curious about why. I know it's related to your femininity and our masculinity, both of which are very good. So
I love the example you gave about the conversation that described it so well. Like some conversations you can have with old buds, like 98% just dumb stories, like the Meyer, even you could say, like really shallow stuff, like honestly. But then sometimes you latch on the topic and you go like, wow, this is really profound, and there are people around here I really care about and connect with, and we've shared things and stuff like that. And it's neat. There's a lot of trudging through that to get to a really incredible point in the conversation.
Right.
But I guess guys have a different formula for it than women, is the way I would put it. Because there's the same clarity you're looking for in a conversation, but like I guess you go about it different ways.
And going back to Luke's original question, though, I still don't know if I can't think of how I've been trying to think of how I built those friendships that I have. I've got maybe 4 or 5 guys that I can get really deep into stuff with, right, and really talk about like, thing. I kind of bare my heart to them and say, hey, here's something I'm struggling with. Here's something, whatever. But I don't have any idea how I built those. Like, I can't remember the moment that happened. I mean, it happens organically, but I don't know. It seems easier with girls.
Well, I think we just got back from a family reunion like a week ago, and some of these family members we like weren't really close with, didn't really know that well, and I would apply this to friendships as well. It's really fun to have like a deck of cards with questions on it that does, these prompts that are like, deeper questions that'll lead to more interesting conversation. And you don't have to like carry around a deck of cards in your purse like I do, but even like on your notes.
Oh my gosh.
But like even on your notes, I have just like a list of 100 questions that's like super interesting to just lead with a new person, with an old friend, and that's a great way to just deepen a friendship with anybody. And even with like new people, sometimes I like to think, I will never see this person again, even though chances are good you probably will. But oftentimes that kind of like helps you like, okay, I'm just going to go out there, I'm going to do it. If you have, if you're scared to branch out and ask questions, with that mindset, it does help sometimes. If you're like, you know what, there's how many people on the planet? I may never see this person again. Let me try being friendly. Let me just ask that question. But yeah, having those kind of icebreaker questions definitely does help, I think, get you to a
It's
deeper
like
place.
speed dating with friends.
Yeah.
It
Exactly.
is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt.
Oh, no, I talk a lot. You.
I was going to say, I think, too, if you kind of go into the world with the mindset of seeking connection versus friendship, it takes the pressure off anything that could happen. Because if you're just seeking connection, life is like a fun game.
Well,
It's
gi-
like,
give us the
freaking
distinction.
cool.
The distinction between connections and friendships.
like when I'm at the grocery store and you're side by side a stranger and you start talking about like all the selections or what they're making for dinner that night. And it's like, I'm not thinking, could I be friends with this person? I'm just thinking, I'm simply having a connection with this human being. And sometimes in my life, that has blossomed into a friendship. So I think just taking the pressure off of like, how do I make friends? And just like, how can I connect with anybody who's open, you know? And that could be, like I said, at the coffee shop, if you go places consistently where you'll see like the same staff or the same regulars or, you know, a visitor in town, like each person can kind of become a different book you read for a moment. And it's like you get the chance to interview them, which is also an important thing. I think a lot of people lack the ability to be a good friend in the sense where you're asking the questions. You're doing more listening than talking. I
Right.
think a lot of people today just want to talk and they just want to talk about themselves. And that's a dead end as far as a two-person friendship goes. So you be the bigger man or bigger woman and ask them questions about their life. And I don't know, personally, I love going deep fast. So girl or guy, I'm like, what's your relationship like with your mom? What's your relationship like with your dad? When was the last time you cried? You know, and chances are most people enjoy talking about themselves.
Yeah.
And so then the conversation will go on long. You'll get to know deep things about each other. And if they're a good person, they'll like, you know, return some questions. And
And that's how you build community. If you do that
Oh,
enough times.
good wrap around.
All back around.
Yeah, I think it's a
Segue,
really
Harvard
good point that you
graduate.
guys made, like having like just a few close people that you like connect with that like, you know, just, you know, having something in common with them that blossoms into a friendship. Because I used to be the kind of person, like this is an analogy, I came up with it. You know when you like carry like a bunch of stuff and you're like trying to carry as much as possible, then one thing falls and you try to catch it, and more fall, and then more fall, and you try to catch everything, and then everything just ends up on the ground. That's how I was with friends back in the
Oh,
day.
that's
I wanted
interesting.
it,
Yeah.
all the friends, and then one of them fell out of contact, so I tried to spend more time with them. But then I fell out of contact with 4 more, and I tried to spend more time with them. And I just one by one, 10 by 10, they just all started dropping off the face of the earth, and it just ended up with me having possibly 2 friends who are unfortunately at odds with each other, and I like hanging out in group settings. I've tried to bring them together, but it's not happening. But yeah, so just, you know, having something in common with somebody, just forming a connection rather than a friendship is probably what's best, because that is the long term. You're starting somewhere light that can go somewhere deep.
What Veronica said is so freaking amazing and it's so real, and I love the way that was worded too. I think there's a huge distinction between seeking connection versus seeking friendship.
Mhm.
'Cause for me, I have a lot of friends, but getting by with connections that I make on the grocery store or with the people I'm interacting with, that's all I need. Like, there are times where you need friends and, like, the community part. But especially, I feel like when you're young, like in your 20s, you can kind of scrape by really easily or even benefit yourself by seeking connection with, like, freaking 40-year-old people, you know, at the grocery store.
Oh,
It's
my
like,
goodness.
I know it's
40-year-olds.
ridiculous, you know. That's the saying, you know. I want to hang out around young, attractive people all the
Yeah,
time,
I get
but then I
that.
have to see like old, beautiful people, and I'm like, well, you know, I
I
guess
don't
I'll
like
learn
how you
to
keep
love
making
them.
eye contact. I'm still in my
Because-
30s, like firmly, like mid 30s, firm for the record.
35 rounds up.
It does round up. I can run for president. All right, I don't want to hear. But
John Henry, I got a little bit of advice. I know that you brought up trying to go deep, and I know that that's probably an area that I know for myself, I talked about it on my conversion story, of going deep was hard for me. And one of the things that I did was I reached out to somebody who I thought, which actually was John Henry. We've opened up our hearts to each other a lot, and it is asking advice. Hey, I'm struggling with this one thing. If you're a man, like, go to somebody that you have a feeling that they would be receptive to what you're saying. And I can almost guarantee you, that they will give advice. Men love to give advice.
That's
true.
And especially, it gives it's a little bit of a chip on their shoulder that, hey, wow, this guy's looking up to me. So reach out to a man that you know and ask for advice. Whether you're a young father or just a young man who wants career advice, whatever it is, then that's an opportunity to really grow deep
and to build a relationship.
Yeah.
And you're right, people love I've never had like a good thought on my own in my entire life. Everything good that I've ever learned, I learned from bothering people. And I've talked about this on the show before. I'm part of this community, right? I literally live on a compound on the side of a mountain with on 300 acres with some other families, right?
We're dropping the address below.
Yeah.
Look for the comments.
Good luck. Come at me.
For all you giraffe lovers out there.
But I'm surrounded by a lot of really good men who are a lot better at being fathers and husbands and men than I am. And every time I'm part of this bigger community, right? This school, and we have pig roasts and all these things. And I spend those times going up to find guys who I say, like, I want to be on your level, man. Like, give me some advice on this because I want to hear your thoughts. I want my kids to be like your kids. I see your kids. They're grown up. They're great kids. What can I do? I want to be a dad like you are. And I think you said this off air. I guess I can say it on air. I struggle with pride, right? And you struggle with pride, right? And that was sort of a hump I had to get over. But now that I have, it's like the most freeing thing in the world. It's really cool. Just ask a lot of people a lot of questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, people love talking about themselves.
They do. And a really easy way to spark connection, which, could blossom, is giving compliments. I know, especially for girls, like, the host at the restaurant who has her nails done, like, those nails are fire. And immediately she's like, oh, I just got him done, da-da-da-da-da-da, and it turns into a conversation. Or a guy, I'm not out here giving so many compliments to dudes, but yeah, if he's got a great hat, I'm mentioning it. Or if like a fly suit, come on now.
Veronica, I have a shirt that I wore when I was in college, and I was complimented on it one time by a girl walking around outside my dorm. And every time I put on that shirt, I'm like, I look good in this shirt.
Yeah.
That girl 15 years ago said I look good in this shirt.
It makes a difference.
We remember those few and far between compliments for
my
years
goodness.
and years.
Complimenting somebody, yeah, that is huge. And once again, just to put another exclamation point on something that you said earlier, if you're ever in a situation where it's awkward and uncomfortable and you're trying to meet somebody or you're trying to establish friendships or you're at a party or you're on a date, just start asking them questions about themselves. Mm-hmm. And they'll ask them about you and answer it, but then direct it back to them. Yeah. And it's really great. It makes the other person feel seen in a big way, right? And make sure that you're actually paying attention to what they're saying, even if it's not that interesting, right? Because then you can go deeper and go down the rabbit holes. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and once you're done with them, you can ask them questions about their parents, their siblings, the town they're from, their passions, their favorite movies. This endless.
People are interesting. The depth of knowledge. I love what you said about asking questions. Like, it's so real. You can ask someone about anything, and they have a depth of knowledge that they draw from and
100%
deliver so much.
Mm-hmm.
Mary, how's that work for a melancholic?
You
said that earlier, right? Didn't you say it on the air? Did you say it doesn't? Oh, it's got to. Let's hear it.
Wait, what doesn't what?
How is that? As you said, you were a melancholic. That was your temperament earlier.
Yeah.
How do you take the advice of ask people a bunch of questions and all of that? Is that like easy? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like for me, learning how to socialize because I have a very social family, so I was able to kind of just watch them and learn. But yeah, like they were saying, like people love to talk about themselves, but also like you were saying, if you are somebody who struggles to socialize, a lot of that has to do with you. Maybe you don't think you're interesting, you have nothing to say, so that just means you need to listen more. And even if you think that person might not be particularly interested, there's this thing that Jordan Peterson, back in the day when he was cool, would say. He was like, always treat your whoever you're talking to, treat them like they have something that they can teach you, which I'm a very prideful person too, so that was really important for me to learn.
Right.
It's like every single person on this planet is an eternal soul, and they have something that they can teach me. And as you absorb these stories and these quirks and these mannerisms with other people, you will become more interesting, you will formulate yourself as a person, and you'll be able to socialize better.
And it's an exercise. I mean, it's something you actually have to work on.
Right.
And it's not going to be comfortable or fun at first, especially if you're not naturally geared towards being gregarious or outgoing.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's just something you have to build and do it again and again and force yourself to do sometimes.
Yeah, if you want it.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that? If not, I got a hot take I want to throw out there.
I want to hear the hot take. I've been waiting.
you know, I'm gonna say it like without any qualifications, and then I'll back it up and then I'll soften it. But I just think this would be good to throw out there. I don't think guys and girls can have as deep of friendships with members of the opposite sex as they can with members of their own sex. And I don't think it's super healthy for guys or girls to have predominant friend groups that are predominantly members of the opposite sex.
I agree. It's always a red flag.
Well, that wasn't hot.
I agree with that as well.
Someone disagree.
Somebody, come on.
Views.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable. I mean,
Dang it. Guys should never talk to girls. There you go. How's
I
that?
also
How's
agree.
that?
language.
Girls should always make the first move.
No, I
So
was.
now on the topic of segregation,
I'm 35 years old. I'm married. I got 5 kids, and I don't have any friends who are girls. I have girls that I respect, who I love, who I care about, and I say that friends, including my wife, because I refuse to say my wife's my best friend. She's not. She's something way deeper than that. And you can use words like friendship to describe it. That's not what I'm getting. Like with my wife, we do not have like a really good friendship. No, we are sacramentally bound. I love this woman. She's
It's
flesh of
amazing.
my flesh. It's the best thing in the world. But I don't have friends who are girls. I did when I was younger. And I don't think I had any really particularly healthy friendships with girls when I was younger. But now, as a grown married man, the only girls I ever hang out with are my wife's friends or my coworkers,
Yeah.
right? At work. That's the only place I hang out with them.
Based.
yeah.
Man, somebody argue with me. Come on.
No, I mean, so
Pandas shouldn't exist. Let's get back to that.
so yeah, I 100% agree with you. Like, it is very hard to have like a predominantly friendly relationship with someone of the opposite sex. And a great example of this is when I was in net. So they focus a lot on like the whole brother sister dynamic in a team. And they always try to split it down the middle, 50% women, 50% guys. Now there were a solid like 30 girls on my year and only like 8 guys.
Okay.
So there was only like 2 guys per team.
Mhm.
And that also happened to be the year that COVID struck the world.
Oh, wow.
And so we were stuck in a building for like 8 of those months.
Wow.
And I tell you what, the whole brother-sister dynamic was starting to disappear towards the end of that.
What does that mean?
I mean, guys were falling for girls and girls were falling for guys, and that wasn't allowed on nets. That was probably one of the most strenuous and awkward situations I think I've ever been in.
It's like a horrible social experiment. That's
You have
like
so much
that
drama
sounds
that's
in
like
your
one of
life.
those Mr.
Experiment.
Beast videos. It's really a war crime. You know what I mean? Like that's
Putting
weird.
80 women and 20 men in the building
Yeah.
for 3 years, you know?
It was strenuous because
That's
we
hysterical.
were told that if you start to pursue a relationship or even make any romantic moves towards like one of your team sisters or even one of the girls on another team, then you'll be taken off of the team and removed from net for that year.
Sent to
And-
Alabama.
Deported.
Yeah.
So, but it was COVID, right? Like, what were they going to do?
Yeah,
Like,
take some
I'll
of the
cough
vitamin.
on you.
I really don't know
Yeah.
what the science was behind that, but that's the way that they had put it.
So overall, was it a good experience with net?
Overall, yes, I would like to say it was a majority good
Good.
experience
If you'd
because
said no,
we,
not at all, we would have cut that out. Yeah.
yeah, but we made a lot of good impact in Ireland, and
Right.
that's what I focus on. I don't focus on like what happened between team members. I focus on the people and the kids that we affected.
Well, and the reason I'm asking, right, going back to the whole community thing, is that's like living in a like co-ed monastic community kind of, which seems kind of weird. But I'm curious about what that sort of this insular community where it's like you and you and you've never met each other. Guess what? You're on a team. You love each other. You take care of each other. Now go out and do a job together. Can you just speak to the dynamic of that and sort of just the communal
That
experience of it?
was very awkward at the start. So
Okay.
like I was on a small group during training, and I had grown close to the guys who were in my small group, and I was really hoping that I would be on their team. I got sent to another team that was like completely across the country from where my small group was, and it felt awkward for a little while. So I ended up with a guy. His name was Jack, and I miss Jack. I miss him so much. I miss everyone on my team. He took some getting used to. My team sisters, they took some getting used to. We had these things on our team called CCs. They were called Courageous Conversations. And so if you had something that was bothering you that someone on your team did, you would kind of pull them aside into a private room he would start in prayer, and you would kind of explain, hey, you did this, made me feel like that, and I just wanted to let you know how it made me feel.
That's kind of cool. Okay, I
It
kind of
was
dig
cool,
that.
except it got abused
Okay.
thoroughly. And to the point where I was getting CC'd by my team sisters and sometimes by Jack multiple times a day.
Name drop.
All right.
For simply things that, like, and I understand, like, if you have, like, a problem with something that I said, obviously bring it to me. I'll try not to do it again. But also at the same time, if you've gotten to know me for almost a year now, you have to know that I have no intention of harming you in any sort of mental, emotional, or physical way with my words or my actions. So knowing the intent behind the things that I'm saying is also important, not just focusing on how it made you feel.
Yeah, I hear it. I mean,
You said this is a majority of women.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, that's an interesting
That's
dynamic.
kind of how we work. You know, we worry about
That's a
how
good
we
point, Mary.
Well, but I
Which is also one of the reasons why it was so strenuous, because men and women work very differently in certain
Well,
environments.
I love the idea of with maybe the fact was that it just wasn't as organic, but with good friends of being able to call them out. I think I've been called out by my friends in really like well done, loving ways. That it was not an attack to my pride. It didn't feel like, but it was a, hey man, that's not okay. Like you can't do that. And be secure in my love for you. That's a line of a good friend of mine. Like be secure in my love for you. Also, I really don't like the way that this came out. Like, can we talk about it? And it would really bother me if I did not have a relationship with them. I'd say, who the heck are you to do this? But yeah. You said off air earlier, you were talking about sort of mental health stuff and the need for community now. And I wanted to tee up on that one.
Yeah. Well, there's a cartoon out there that I won't endorse, but they did it was about preteen kids trying to figure out puberty, and they did this amazing character impersonation of depression.
Okay.
It was called like the Depression Cat.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the little girl characters is depressed because her parents are getting divorced, and so she gets visited by the Depression Cat, which looks like a giant Cheshire cat. And the Depression Cat tells her like, oh, you don't need to go outside, you don't need to go hang out with your friends or do school events, you just sleep here with me and we'll just just sleep all day and never. And I was like, wow, that's an amazing like way of portraying depression, because that's like how I felt for a lot of my youth. And I think with social media and the way that society is structured now, where you can work from home and do everything from home, it's really easy to kind of sink into that depression cat. And the longer you spend in that depression cat, the harder it is to get out. So I think with like the mental health aspects of socializing, it's really important to like all the things that we were talking about. It's like just think less about yourself and do like volunteering and asking people questions and doing things that you would want to do with your friends, and
Well, we can interact with people so much easier now than we've ever been able to.
Right.
And we're so much more lonely than we've ever been.
Exactly.
Right? All these ways that we connect and these social things, social media, right? They seem to just be pushing people further and further away from each other and allowing us to be more and more insular. I think that's gross.
I believe
Yeah.
very strongly there's nothing social about social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. All right, we got time for not popsicle 6, but loaded questions,
Loaded
Junior.
questions.
The
Very quickly.
question card game that you can play with your grandmother because it's designed for 8-year-olds, so you can put it on the air on Saturdays at 4. Pick your favorite and let's rock and roll. Oh, this is topical. Mine is, who is your best friend? And the answer to who is my best friend, and I say this with only a little bit of irony, is my dog Jeff. I love this dog. He goes everywhere with me. He's my favorite thing living most of the time. Like I love my wife and children more, but I like him consistently more.
What
right?
kind of dog?
He's a black lab. He's beautiful. He's
Best
2.5
breed.
years old, and he's my best buddy.
Understand.
Neighbor.
awesome.
Yeah, we spend our mornings together. Like he gets up with me in the morning for prayer
Aw.
time, sits beside me on a rocking chair on the porch. It's the
Going
best.
straight to heaven.
Yeah. What you got?
Very
Jay?
quickly.
Let's see. Where is the first place you would drive or did drive when you got your license? Chick-fil-A.
Nice.
Good work.
Cool. I went to the gas station and bought cigarettes. I
I
really did. Yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa.
What chore do you not mind doing? I really enjoy cleaning my pet's ears.
Whoa.
It's really
That's
What
a-
about in the kitchen? Like, what's the chore in the kitchen that you have?
No, don't.
I'm sorry. I'm curious.
Qualify. We're gonna run out of time.
What music makes you want to dance? I love disco and funk.
Yes.
Disco and
I'm a closet pop punk guy. I really like
Pop punk
late
is great.
'90s,
I
early
mean-
2000s pop punk. Bowling for Soup.
I love
Yeah.
Bowling for Soup. Actually, they're amazing.
Real talk.
Seems
I
fitting.
can confirm Drew is a very groovy human being. I've seen him break it
We
down
love
on the floor.
dancing.
Nice. Nice.
Cut to this dance move. Mine says, "What is a favorite thing to do on a rainy day?" And I'm just gonna be basic and say, well, there's two different things actually. You could be either be indoors with your rainy day playlist. Yes, I have one. Or you could just go full out, stand outside in the rain, let it hit you, have a spiritual experience, get baptized,
I dig it. Okay.
lay down on the grass, get some grounding in. Yeah, it depends on the feel. This says, "What is a terrible nickname?" I think Richard got a pretty bad rep. So I'm going to do, what is your favorite candy? Chewy Sweet Tarts all day.
Oof.
Okay.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
I also like Reese's or dark chocolate. Don't get me started on candy.
Are you doing one, Julian?
Yeah, I'll do one real quick.
All right,
What
ready.
is something that should never go on a hamburger? And that's mayonnaise.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're going to leave it with that because
Okay,
it's going to get too
hold on,
contentious here.
hold on.
Ladies
Wait
and
a
gentlemen,
minute.
that's all the time we have for today.
I would like to rebuttal.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been Honest to God, a production of the Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. Producer Julian,
Signing off.
over and out.